Self-criticism and resulting guilt are two of the most toxic and unnecessary behaviors that we humans often engage in. And self-criticism and the resulting guilt are almost always a result of resisted fear. Now, there's different ways that we can resist fear that create the guilt and the self-criticism. But I want to talk about one way that probably accounts for more than 50% of all the guilt that we might feel. And the reason that we criticize ourselves and we feel guilty is because we're trying to beat other people to the punch in terms of criticizing ourselves. It's like, okay, I'm going to criticize myself before they can, or so maybe they'll criticize less, or I'll somehow be able to avoid their criticism. So let me give you some examples. Here in China, not so common in America, but here in China, many younger people feel very guilty because they're not following what their parents want them to do in terms of their career or choice of a mate or getting married. And so they feel a lot of guilt and self-criticism because of this. But in America, we have our share of guilt too. I was working with a man one time in Albuquerque, and he had been divorced and he had 2 children, and he was feeling very guilty about his divorce. But especially with regard to his children, but I asked him, well, aren't the children better off now that you're divorced? And he confirmed that yes, they were better off, both in their relationship with their mother and with him. So it wasn't even that he'd made some sort of mistake in getting divorced, but he was still guilty. And so in looking further, we discovered that he was frightened of what other people will think about him getting divorced, like somehow he was a bad man or a bad father because he got divorced. So the way through this, because it's the self-judgment is automatic in our attempt to avoid the fear associated with other people possibly criticizing us. So the way to avoid this is, first of all, you notice the fear of others criticizing you or possibly criticizing you, and then you start taking some 11 deep breaths and you say, boy, am I scared they might criticize me, or boy, am I scared that they are criticizing me. And you do that 11 times to really get the energy flowing to make friends with the fear, and then you pat yourself on the back for choosing the courage to embrace and feel that fear and honor yourself for that. And I promise if you do this 11 times, I'd be very surprised if you didn't discover that the guilt and the self-criticism went to either nothing or at least lessened a considerable amount. So try this next time you feel guilty or notice you're criticizing yourself. Try this method on and see if you can't disappear that guilt. Thank you.